This episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Did you know one man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer? In fact, testicular cancer is the most common form of cancer amongst men aged 15 to 35, with April being National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. Our friends over at Manscaped have partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to help spread awareness for men's health and early cancer detection. Visit manscaped.com/TCS to learn how to check yourself for early signs of cancer. And as always, you can use promo code Managing Madrid for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. In addition to providing the right tools and solutions for comfortable and easy grooming, Manscaped is committed to raising awareness and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer. That is why they will be donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society. Help save lives and balls by going over to manscaped.com/TCS and sharing their funny educational check yourself video. And while you're at it, grab 20% off and free shipping with the code Managing Madrid. Because, like a famous American philosopher once said, take care of your chicken, your balls, and your mentals. All right. We are recording this just after 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm your host, Kiyan Sobhani. I'm joined today by Siddharth Ramsundar. What are we talking about today? A bunch of things. First of all, thank you to Mehedi and Hridium for taking the post-game podcast last night. As I was away, I could not record. They talked about the Arda Guler game winner, supreme confidence on this Turkish kid, Carlo Ancelotti, raving about his defensive abilities last night as well. Sid, I also just wanted to start off by saying my condolences to you and the Los Angeles Lakers. And by condolences, what I really mean is na 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 na. Hey, hey, goodbye. See you later, Lake Show. Nice knowing you. Sorry, LeBron, you're not touching the GOAT, MJ's legacy. Sorry, you're not doing it.
You know, it's funny. I saw, and I really can't believe I'm bringing this up, but it was funny enough for me to bring it up. There was a quote of LeBron saying, LeBronto, what about Nicola with LA capitalized at the end?
Love it.
Nico LA. And hey, I mean, it's not even close to comparable because we beat them the first time. And, you know, the Raptors never beat LeBron. But whatever people want to say, people can make fun of us. Listen,
It's
man.
not about the Raptors, bro. It's not about the Raptors.
But yeah, I mean, listen, and also my condolences to the Miami Heat who lost to the KKK Celtics today. I'm really, really sad. Really wanted the Heat to somehow steal that one. You know, at least we got Luka Doncic winning. We got Florentino. Okay, so it's funny. We can talk about the NBA today because even Florentino is taking this weekend where La Liga's over, waiting for the Champions League, and he showed up in Dallas right after. Was he at the game yesterday? You think he just flew?
He was.
He was. So Sociedad straight to Dallas.
I guess. I don't know. I was kind of like, because I've been pretty much away all yesterday, so I don't really know where he was yesterday. I assume he was at Anueto, but maybe must not have been because, you factor in the time difference. I don't know. All I know was that he was in Dallas last night. He also went to the, I think it's Austin FC football game today. Florentino is everywhere. Look, like, do you think? So I was thinking about this. I mean, surely you didn't actually think LA had any chance at beating the Jokic train, did you? They're unstoppable.
You watch game 2?
No, I just saw the highlights.
People can say 11-0. I thought Michael Porter said this really well because, like, they asked him after the conference, like, "Do you guys enjoy beating LA?" And he's like, "No, like they're hard to beat. We were down 20 in this game, or we're down double digits half the time we play them. We have to come back. They play well. It's hard. Like, I don't know why people are pretending this isn't like one of the close. It's actually a close rivalry where one team is just so much better at executing in crunch time than almost every team in the history of the league. Not just us. They're better than almost every team in the history of the league in crunch time. You know that?
Well, no, I didn't. But I think, to me, the reason why it seems like such an own is because they go down against LA. And it just feels like at some point during the game, whether it's like the second half, third quarter, fourth quarter, they're like, oh, I guess we got to get out of first gear now and start trying. And then it's just like, oh, it's almost insulting the way they win. It's kind of like they kind of got the Real Madrid DNA in them. It's like, no matter what, we'll just find a way to put it together and get the W. 11 straight is crazy.
No, they have it for sure. It's just like, I thought Jokic, maybe he was trying to appease. So some people say he was trying to appease LeBron, but like, he did say that we were the hardest team they played last year. I know Minnesota took a game off them, and we won't be the hardest team they played this year. I promise. It's either Luka Doncic or Minnesota is going to push them way further than us. But
I agree.
And, I can't believe it. Can't believe LeBron, KD, and Curry may not win a playoff game this year. It's my whole childhood up in flames, Kiyan. I'm sad.
It's a new era, bro. KD down 3-0, LeBron down 3-0. Steph didn't even make it. We're completely in a different era now. It's a transition.
I was looking forward to the pure hoopers torching Gobert to drop coverage, and we got this where the pure hoopers are getting laughed out of the building. I was looking forward to Booker's midi. Like, you remember him dropping 40 on Denver twice last playoffs? Like,
yeah,
it's smooth. But I tweeted this the other day. I just wanted to share. I think it's poetic that you have this Michael Jordan regen in Edwards absolutely bullying the Kobe regen and Devin Booker. And it's like Kobe was more athletic than Devin Booker in his prime. But I think in many ways, this is the gap between the two. One, Jordan would have got to the rim at will, dunked on people, and he would have eaten up Kobe in that matchup. Kobe would have shot well, but he would have struggled physically. And I just think that's why we're seeing it. But yeah, man, this whole first round has been great. Yeah, I mean, Florentino, now that we mention it, there's no way the Dallas game started at 9. So he was there in Dallas at 8:30. We finished playing yesterday at 4 p.m. Central, and it's 8:30 Central. So it's not 4.5 hours from Spain to Dallas, right? Not a chance.
Oh my God, no. Are you kidding? No, it's like way more.
Yeah.
It's way more. Yeah.
So Florentino skipped Arda Guler's starting debut for Luka Doncic. How do you Madridistas feel about that? I'm just messing with y'all. Here, he said Mavs in 5. I mean, listen, I thought it was just a cool show of support, showing how the game's global, and not many people were talking about Florentino being there. And I just thought it was cool as a Real Madrid fan who roots for Luka, not over LeBron, but I root for Luka. It was cool to see. What did you think of that game? Poor Kawhi, man. You really got that last postseason run out of him, huh?
I can never. Look, the Raptors right now suck balls. They truly terrible. And it's like one of the most obvious tank jobs in a long time. Like, we just traded all the best players, and we shut down Scotty Barnes. Like, every day there was 100 people injured, quote unquote injured. So we're going straight to the bottom. But 2019 was worth everything. We got really the best, truly great Kawhi year, arguably his best ever, which is crazy to say because he had some great ones with the Spurs. And then that was it. And I'm forever grateful to Kawhi because he was like, look, I'm giving Toronto the best I have, and then I'm piecing out and not being the same. I'm going to go complete load management mode. But there were times this season he looked great, man. He looked great, but you just never know with this team. Let's transition to football. You mentioned Florentino skipping the Arda Guler show and all that. So last night, Sid, I was at a wedding. So this was a background game for me. The first half, I was ironing my suit, putting my suit on. The game was on in the background. I'm not glued to the screen. I'm looking at it. I saw the Guler goal. I saw hot bits and parts. And then the second half, I'm just listening to the radio in the car, driving over to the wedding. Do I need to rewatch it? Do I need to go back and watch this? Or do I just chalk it up as oh, who cares? No one will remember this. It was not important.
Yeah, it wasn't too important. I mean, Militao starting was good. I thought, just on tying the basketball soccer together, what we saw with the Clippers with Kawhi, we kind of dodged a bullet. And I think it ties into what's happened to us a few times under Zidane. The thing where you have a star player coming back or trying to fight to be fit for crucial games near the end of the season. We really dodged a bullet with the Courtois Lunin thing in some ways. Imagine if Courtois starts but doesn't play his best game, we go out. Or even, you're Lunin. You've been training all year. You're definitely in better rhythm than Courtois if he comes back. So we dodged a bullet there, and I wonder how we play it in this Bayern side between Militao and Nacho a lot. And we got the bad end of the stick with Vinicius and the Hazard situation with Vinicius at right wing back. Sergio Ramos coming back after one of the worst seasons of his career and getting destroyed at Chelsea. We got the bad end of the stick. I thought we got really lucky with this Lunin Courtois thing. And, the Clipper is unlucky. Just saying, because, what do you even do at that point as Kawhi? You can't be out there game 3. Do you play 10 minutes, play as a role player? Or do you just sit it out and, demoralize your team? And in our case, I don't know. I guess, that might be a good place to start. Who starts at center back for you? Are we starting Tchouaméni? Or are we starting Nacho or Militao?
So interesting because, we had a lot of discussions on the podcast before heading into this about okay, and this goes all the way back to the City game, actually. We thought maybe they squeeze in Militao in that one game before the City. I forget what it was. Was it Mallorca? We were playing Mallorca. And we're like, does he play there? If he plays there, maybe he gets a chance against City. And pretty much everyone was like, no, this should not be risked at all. He's just coming back up an ACL, injury. He's not going to be himself. And I even posed a question to Matt. I was like, what if he starts and plays really well against Mallorca? Would that change your mind? Would he start against City then? He's like, no. And I kind of posed the same question to Lucas ahead of this Bayern game. I was like, what if Militao plays against Real Sociedad and he's awesome? He's like Militao of old. It's like, would you play him then? He's like, no. So again, I didn't watch this game too closely last night. He did start, but from what I understand and from what I saw, he was not great. Is that fair?
I didn't pay enough attention to give an honest assessment. Was he actually not great?
Yeah. From what I saw, here and there, he was getting nutmegged. Sociedad were also dominating this game, possession-wise. They were all over us. According to Matt in his piece on Managing Madrid, heavy touches, rough first start post the ACL injury. I'll take his word for it. Either way, I don't think, given his state right now, he's fit to play against Bayern. So that leaves Tchouaméni or Nacho. And the dilemma here is, Nacho played well against City in the second leg. If you put Nacho there, that means Tchouaméni's the CDM, which means Camavinga's on the bench. If you put Tchouaméni center back, that means you can squeeze in Camavinga. Is Mendy fit? Mendy is not 100%, but we think he's ready for Tuesday. If he's fit, then he's no-brainer. He has to play. If he's not,
he said he's fit. I think it's confirmed he's fit.
Yes, from what I understand, he's fit, right? So basically, this is the same question we had in the first leg against City. Is it Tchouaméni or Nacho? If it's Tchouaméni, Camavinga gets squeezed into the midfield. If it's Nacho, Camavinga goes to the bench. That's the dilemma you're looking at.
Yeah, and I think Bayern, Tuchel said, ominously, he's like, I look forward to trying causing them problems. I thought that was a fun quote. He said that. The way he said it, it felt like, on one hand, I can't wait to make them suffer. On the other hand, oh my God, this team is a menace. You saw what he said about how we don't even know that we're not even trying to score until 5 seconds before the goal.
Tuchel said this?
He said, watch Real Madrid's goals. I watched all of them. Until the 10 seconds before every goal, you have no idea they're actually trying to score.
Interesting. I didn't see that quote.
And that's what has gotten me.
He's right, man. If you go back through all of our goals, we don't see a goal coming in a lot of those instances.
I would argue this, and I'd say some of the Zidane years we saw them coming more because we built up in a traditional way. But if you remember 16, 17, maybe 21, 22, and now this year, those are the 3 years that stand out the most as we kind of score out of nothing situations, out of random situations. Within all that, they're going to obviously set up to cage us in. I don't think they're going to dominate the ball. They don't build up the best either, so we should press them. And the big concern, the release valve, should Tchouaméni be marshalling Harry Kane from the CDM? Because I like Camavinga, but I think for that task of Kane dropping, I would prefer Tchouaméni. Just as I'd prefer a traditional CDM, someone who like a traditional CDM like Tchouaméni or Casemiro. They study the game from the back foot. So they're studying okay, where's the gaps? How can I plug the gaps? Camavinga is a really front foot defender, if you know what I'm saying. I know against City, he did a great job as a back foot defender. And we saw in the first leg, half a second you switch off on the back foot, boom, long shots, goes in. This is why Casemiro is so special. He never switched off. He was always locked in. And I just wonder, is Tchouaméni going to handle Kane in transition 10 times better, 20 times better? Is he going to know where he's going in advance? Is Camavinga going to be too rash Or I think I'm overthinking it too. Maybe you just play the better. You play Tchouaméni at center back. You have your ball security. You progress ball really smooth with him. Like it's a DM moving back. It's really smooth. And then you have Vasquez at right back, basically a winger converted. Play your smooth build up, unleash Camavinga, get a draw or win in Munich, come back. I think that's very possible. It's just if Tchouaméni starts at CDM, I think it's to control Harry Kane. What do you think?
Look, it's an interesting question. Given that I think Tchouaméni, and like if you're going to go and have a debate about who's the better center back, Tchouaméni or Nacho, like after what we saw in the Etihad, Nacho redeeming himself, second leg against City, playing superbly, like stepping up to dispossess Haaland when Haaland was trying to hold it up outside the box. He was doing that really well and also defending him really well in the box. I don't think he was perfect. He definitely had some nervy moments. And then you go back to Tchouaméni's like center back performance against Leipzig, Tchouaméni center back performance against City. He looked good there too. It's not like this. If Nacho is going to play there, it's not like he's like that much better than Tchouaméni at center back if he is. The reason why I would opt for Tchouaméni is because it squeezes in Camavinga. And I just think the more like Camavinga's on the field, the better Real Madrid are. He's a net positive, like in any scenario. That's why I would lean towards Tchouaméni and Camavinga. But your discussion about Kane is interesting. I'm writing about Bayern Munich now. I'll probably publish it maybe Monday. I think Kane, are you still with me? There you are. I think Kane is the best. It's not even a hot take, actually. Kane is the best striker we faced all season.
Wait, when I said this, like last year after Haaland came off the treble, people were making fun of me, but you can just say that now? That Kane's just better? Now
but now that everything, the numbers back it up. Last season, the numbers didn't back it up.
They did if you did a team multiplier, where you literally just have to multiply down whatever city's doing.
We're not all as nerdy as you.
For Spurs, you got to triple whatever you're doing there, man. Tottenham Hotspur, like, and you didn't like at least give him a little bump there.
Fair point. There's definitely a Tottenham tax. Like you're kind of playing handicapped, but he leads the Big Five leagues in goals and assists. He's just way more mobile than Haaland. He's a different kind of threat. So with Haaland, Rudiger and Nacho kind of knew the zones Haaland was operating. Haaland's an elite off-ball mover, but you kind of know where he's going to do his damage. At least you know the zones where he's going to do his damage. Kane's a little bit more unpredictable. He can go to the left side. He can link up in the half space. He can drop. He can do other things. He's a little more mobile. He's a different kind of threat. How much do you think that changes the way we mark him versus someone like Haaland?
A lot. Kane is like marking. We're literally playing like it. People are going to be like, wow, because this is very, very similar to peak Benzema in terms of marking a striker who doesn't play directly in the box out of his own choice. He's going to drop. It's not like peak Messi in the sense that like false nine Messi would pick up the ball and dribble through the whole setup. And so if you didn't overload him, they would keep the ball, and it was hard. But Kane is a bit more like Benzema, I think, where you have to cut his shit out. Like you can't let him go dance around with the ball, but you can sit off him a little. Like you can sit off him a little, and also if you press him too much, like Karim, I think he'll just he's like a jiu-jitsu expert where he'll use your own force against you. He'll release someone. The main difference is I think if Benzema in a game, if 70% of his touches were to calm things down and 20 to 30% to speed it up, I'd say Kane is a lot closer to 50-50. So like Kane, maybe every one touch, he'll tap it to the side. The other touch, he's thinking like who's overlapping on both wings. He knows who's overlapping on both wings. They practice so that when Kane gets on the ball, somebody somewhere is making a run against the last line of the defense. I'd say that's where he's different from Benzema. Benzema picks up the ball like he's associating. With Kane, he gets the ball. He's actually just trying to get the ball through the last line, through whoever's running it. And Benzema wasn't as vertical in his pass intent. He was a lot more horizontal, a lot more diagonal in the way he moved. And so I think when he gets the ball, you have to watch for his pass. Like it's not actually his dribbling or shot. I'm not even worried about him stitching the play together, actually. I'm really worried about that killer ball from Kane. I don't know how much you've watched it, but like the dude will get the ball on the left side, like looking, maybe facing the right side of the pitch. and then he'll turn around, like one touch, switch to the other side, byline, like boom, chance. And it's like Messi, to be honest, in that sense. It's a lot like Messi to Alba, but Kane does it with both wings. He's never had a Jordi Alba. He's kind of had to work with. He's had a Heung-min Son, but he's never had a Jordi Alba style partner who's overlapped from fullback. So that's what I'm looking forward to. How do you mark that? It is more complex. It's the difference is like Bayern as a team are way easier. Like Leroy Sane is not as scary to me right now in his form. Kingsley Coman's out. That's a huge loss. Serge Gnabry's been kind of washed for a couple of years. I know he scored against Arsenal, but like that was a meme too, the way Arsenal conceded two.
Yeah, this is what to me makes it so difficult when it comes to scouting Bayern Munich this season. They're kind of a weird team. It's hard to know like what kind of Bayern Munich will show up against us because there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of people writing Bayern off. I don't necessarily blame anyone for thinking Real Madrid are the favorite because to me they are. I mean, to me, City and Real Madrid were the two favorites. Whoever was going to get out of that bloodbath was probably going to have the best chance of winning the Champions League. And for that reason, I think Real Madrid are the best team in the competition right now. Also, when you like everything's relative, right? So like compared to what we faced over two legs against City, that's like about as difficult as anything we face in a long time and surviving it, right? So it just feels like anything after that is just going to be easier by default. We went through two legs of hell and got through it. And it just feels like if we can get through that, we can get through anything, you know? Like I mentioned this to Diego on Churros yesterday. I said, like, it's kind of like if you can bench 400 pounds, you can bench 200 pounds. I feel like City was the 400-pound bench and Bayern is the 200-pound bench. If we did one, we can do the other. Now, of course, that's kind of like a dangerous way to think about it. This is just how like a raw fan emotion. This is like, you don't have to take this seriously at all. It's just like how way I think about it. The City two legs were so grueling and then ultimately so euphoric that like it's almost like we're kind of overlooking Bayern in some sense. I don't think the club is doing that, and I hope the club is not doing that. I think we're in for something really interesting, and you know, our head-to-head with Bayern historically is dead even. Basically, it's always grueling. The only time it was kind of lopsided was the 4-0 and the 5-0 aggregate in 2014. Other than that, it's neck and neck. It's a bloodbath. It's grueling. It goes to extra time. It's a lot of tension. It's tight. Bayern are weird because domestically they just have not been what they usually are. They ran through the Bayer Leverkusen buzzsaw, which somehow, unbelievably, again today, they remain undefeated with a goal in the 97th minute. This is totally like, it's like Real Madrid Bundesliga edition happening over there. It's absolutely crazy. Congratulations to never losing and also to Xabi Alonso. But I think apart from Bayer Leverkusen being as good as they were this season, Bayern have a lot of problems. And they're not like, if you look at the way they are now compared to what they were against Nagelsmann, they're less aggressive. Tuchel is a little bit more rigid, not as unpredictable offensively, not as many fluid parts as like a Nagelsmann team where like you wouldn't know where Musiala is. Is he in the left? Is he in the half space? Is he on the opposite wing? It was kind of like there were moments like you saw like Musiala kind of go central and left like against Arsenal, but I don't know how you feel, Sid, but I feel like in a two-legged cup tie, their ceiling is just higher than what they've shown in the league this season, if that makes sense.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I mean, there's really two sides to Bayern because there are weaknesses with the eye test, which we can talk about. But they have the highest non-penalty expected goal difference in Europe by a margin. It's like I think they literally have like 2 XGD per 90. Leverkusen are like half. Leverkusen are having a historic season, but a lot of people have said pretty much almost any time in the last decade, Bayern would have won the title this year. They would be Bundesliga winners, Bayern Munich, coming to play us right now in pretty much any year, right? I think this is the only year they wouldn't have won. Like maybe Klopp like 12 years ago, but it's been 12 years. So maybe, last year when Jude almost won it, maybe last year. But I mean, they still won it last year. And I think they're on track for a similar points total. Let me see. Regardless, they are on track for a similar number of points as a lot of these title winning campaigns, maybe slightly less, not enough to lose. So you have Leverkusen having the historic season that's overshadowing the expected goal difference. And they've like that expected goal difference tells me they are good. Like they're not bad. They're not like trash, but they may have some tactical weaknesses. Now, tactically, one weakness was the Kimmic Goretzka double pivot wasn't working when they started the season. It wasn't working out of possession. And Tuchel was criticizing Kimmich. Kimmich, has even come out and said, like, I don't feel like people at the club support me because he didn't get protected when Tuchel criticized his temperament as a 6, because he's not a 6, he's an 8, or he's like a, I don't know, 6.5 or 7. I don't know what you call those positions, but like he's a little higher up than a 6. He can play in a double pivot. But him and Goretzka together, that's a disaster because Kimmich vertical passing, Goretzka vertical runs, very little slowing down of tempo. Not too much of stationary Tchouaméni Casemiro style protecting the defense. No Javi Martinez there. One issue. So they moved Kimmich to right back. Two attackers aren't firing. Leroy Sane has had up and down season. This hasn't really fully solved. It's just the Musiala and Kane show as far as I can tell. Musiala even not having like the best season in the world compared to the Nagelsmann time, but still such a talented dribbler. And then you have Harry Kane. And then you just need like one of the wingers to be decently firing, whether that's Tell. I think Tell is actually underrated. Mathis Tell. We wanted him for a reason. We chose Endrick over him, but we were in the market for him. So he is one of the few players that we actually wanted from their team. Other than Musiala, we'd be interested. But so Tell is young though, so he hasn't played as much. You have Coman, who's out now, Gnabry, who's inconsistent. Muller doesn't fit as much tactically. So that last attacker spot, I think it's fair to question who's going to be good. And that last attacker is essential to them being good in transition. But they play fast anyways. It's just so they move Kimmich to right back. They tighten things up defensively. They have this Pavlovic guy in midfield. The last weakness, in my opinion, I know Kimmich improves build up from right back, is Kim Min-jae has been benched for Eric Dyer. And I don't know, people are talking about it, but it's still one of the weirdest things I've seen happen. Like Eric Dyer from Tottenham, like he's some rando. Like Tottenham fans weren't sad to see him go. I don't think anyone in the world, any big team in the world would want him. And then you have this terrorist out here benching a 50 million, like Rolls Royce. Kim Min is a Rolls Royce center back. He's Van Dijk. He's Ramos. Like he's that big, imposing, fast ball playing center back that everybody wants on their team. Like he could do what Rudiger does to Haaland. He's that type of player, in my opinion. And amazing for Napoli last year. And he's being benched in the Champions League, like against Arsenal. It was funny when he did it against Lazio, and then he did it against Arsenal, and they went through. And I'm like, holy shit! Like this isn't some joke anymore. Like Kim Min-jae has been benched for Eric Dyer, and so 3 tactical issues. They solved one, moving Kimmich out, kind of got a defensive double pivot. The third attacker is still an issue. And lastly, yeah, they're playing Eric Dyer because that's how Tuchel wants to coach build up.
Everything what you're saying just feeds into like how weird it is to kind of like analyze this Bayern team. And like I was and I think we're gonna have them on the podcast Monday maybe, and you're doing something too. But Bavarian Football Works, our sister site that covers Bayern Munich, they were saying like with the Champions League with Tuchel, you don't really ever know what he's gonna do. Like you don't know who's gonna start, you don't know who's gonna play, and like the weird thing about them now is that like the most up to date thing with them. Because I watched that game against Eintracht Frankfurt this morning. And what was more interesting than like actually watching the game, because the game itself, you have no idea what to actually take away, right? It's they've lost the league. They're missing players and they're looking ahead to Real Madrid. So there's only so much you can take from that game. But I just noted that you said earlier in the podcast that if you press them, you can have success. Frankfurt did win the ball off them and made them uncomfortable in some dangerous positions. Bayern's transition defense also isn't great, like when they lose the ball in that mid block. And Frankfurt, if they were just a better counterattacking team, could have exploited it more. And I think obviously we are probably the best in the world at that one thing, counterattacking. The interesting thing about Bayern is that it's kind of a different look. Leipzig went at us. City went at us. I don't know if Bayern will do that necessarily. I think Bayern will be more conservative. They'll go into a mid block, they'll play narrow, and they'll try to just drag out the tie like they did against Arsenal, and they're very good at that. Tuchel knows how to do that in a cup tie. But their health status is off the charts bad right now, and I don't know if it you could talk about like mind games and stuff. This is the reality. So heading into this, Musiala did not play today, and this is the exact quote from Tuchel. And by the way, they have a bunch of like off-field mess because like they know Tuchel is not staying beyond the season. Uli Hoeness went at Tuchel in the media.
Petition? Do you see the petition?
No.
Oh, dude. So that's the backdrop to all this. So 10,000 Bayern fans on X signed a petition asking to keep Thomas Tuchel at the club. Tuchel came the next day in the press conference just gleaming, like smiling. They're asking him, what's going on? Why are you so happy? And then they asked him about it. And he's like, oh, I don't have anything to say. Good for the fans. Like, I'm glad. Obviously makes me feel valued as a coach.
He knew about it.
I think it's weird because, yeah, he knew. It got out. And I just think it's weird because it's a club where the sum of the parts isn't working. So everyone's just looking for someone to blame. And anyone who gets blamed feels undervalued, whether that's Kimmic not being like a perfect 6 defensively, which is not a big deal, buddy. But like, I guess the way Tuchel says it, Tuchel also says criticism, it seems, in a weird way. And then, yeah, you have Uli Hoeness coming and saying Tuchel doesn't like improving players. He wants new ones. And then Tuchel coming out and calling it bullshit. Listen, that club is a mess. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole if I was Zabi. Nagelsmann staying at Bayern also kind of screws them because they were basically at the point where they wanted Nagelsmann again. So they're choosing between Tuchel and, in my opinion, a coaching fraud in Ralf Rangnick. I don't see, like, he can coach a Red Bull club where they drink Red Bulls and go and press like headless chickens, sure. But, man, you can't give Red Bull to the Bayern players and ask them to play doo-doo football without using their brain,
So beyond that drama that exists at Bayern, and the new board I'm a little bit biased because I know like behind the scenes with the Davies situation, they fumbled that. Although, look, a lot of Bayern fans are just fed up with Davies right now, who also did not look great off the bench today either. That's a whole other thing. But the new Bayern board is not had a great start. And this goes back, like, it feels like so long ago now, but like I can't believe they fired Nagelsmann for stupid personal reasons. Like, they should have just let that guy cook. Anyways, not our problem. Where I was going with this was Tuchel was talking before the game. I'm going to see if I can just share my screen actually really quick for those of you guys who are following on YouTube so you can read along with me. One sec. So, Managing Madrid just published the quotes. So, Tuchel was giving updates. So, before the game, where is it? On Musiala. He can't play. It's a tendon irritation that is really hindering him. I don't even actually know if that's a full quote now that I see it, because I saw another quote, like I think before the game, where he was talking about like, no, like he's like really not in good shape. He could not play today. And they were optimistic about Musiala's state heading into Tuesday. You factor in the fact that you said earlier, Coleman is out. Gnabry and Sane are actually not 100% match fit. Today, De Ligt, and Tuchel said after the game, De Ligt has ligament injury in his knee. And Connie Limer, who had an incredible assist today, some like really impressive, like he wins the ball half the pitch, he bulldozes 2 players, splits them, and then sets up Harry Kane. He also twisted his ankle and has an injury. They're kind of optimistic about it too, but I don't know. Upamecano, I think, also was not 100% fit. He didn't. I don't know what his status is. So they have some lingering health issues. Just to talk about Sane, you mentioned him earlier in the podcast, Sid. I know that he's not like the most consistent player, but he worries me. And to me, he's kind of like got some Ousmane Dembele in him, where it's like they make bad decisions, but they just have such a high ceiling to break lines and do something individually brilliant that in some ways it kind of balances out for me. I just think these guys are dangerous players. The one thing that they have going for them is that they have the world's best striker right now, the most in form, and they have line breakers around him. In Sane kind of worries me if he plays, like if you have Musiala and Sane on the wings. That's a really decent counterattacking threat, I think, to surround Kane with.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with Sane is he's not the Man City Sane at all, like on the wing. Like that was a bit closer to Ousmane in the way he played on the left, would stretch you out, shoot. He does break lines though, and he does create more than the Man City Sane. a bit more like Dembele. He's not as fast, and I think he had a period this season when he went like 20 games without a goal or something, and I believe that was this season, unless I'd read some bullshit somewhere. But he's had some tricky like he's had a tricky time adapting away from being a winger. A lot of this stuff is the result of serious tactical work from Nagelsmann, Tuchel, kind of converting him into a dribbly 10, where you don't need as much burst to like be effective as on the wing, where you kind of have to destroy your man to get enough space and time to do your thing. In the middle, it's just not, you don't need to be as fast. And so I think he's good, but he's not like, I don't know, Son is scarier for me. I'm not explaining it. Like Sane, I don't think he's going to arrive behind the last line. And when he receives it in the 10 spot, I see potential for him, Kane, and Musiala clogging, unless the wingbacks go up, of course, which is what Tuchel will probably do. Probably get wingbacks to go high and wide, get his forwards to play within each other in the middle. It'll be interesting. I'm just not as scared of the lack of like Kane drops, but there is no Haaland or like Bale or Ronaldo or like just the off-ball mover who plays exclusively near the front line. They don't have that, it feels like, without Coman. Coman can kind of do it. Maybe Gnabry, but he doesn't do much with the ball. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm always amazed I still make that mistake. Yeah, Gnabry of 2-3 years ago was like really scary. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Like this is not the Robben Ribery, peak Bayern winger devastation. But I just think there's enough in. I mean, Musiala is fantastic. I really enjoy watching him play. Again, just going back to Sane, my experience with watching him, and you look at the numbers too, because the numbers back up. Like he is one of the better the creators still, but he go back to Dembele. Like he's not quite as good as Dembele, I don't think, but he does have the ability to he'll make bad decisions, he'll make mistakes, but he also has the ability to really punish you with something brilliant. I think there's enough there, and it's interesting to see how this will shake out. And I'm curious what you think, because between Vinny and Rodrigo and Jude, and then on the other side, Musiala, Kane, and Sane, and Gnabry, if he does eventually play. Both sets of team have wingers to exploit space behind the fullbacks. And I wonder for that reason if given how conservative Tuchel can be and how conservative Ancelotti can be, if we'll just see this kind of drag out. I don't know. How do you actually see this playing out?
Oh, I do see it to figure it out. I still don't. I'm not as scared as their attackers, which is why I think it'll drag out. Because I think if their attackers were deadly in transition, I mean, no matter what, it's a semifinal, Champions League. No coach is going to come out and play a suicidal high line. It's not 2014 anymore. We all saw what we did to Bayern when they tried that in Munich. People play defensively now. I'm just kidding. But, people don't play naive. And so I just don't see those attackers as crazy fast. Like Coman is out. Coman was the scariest for me. Like, I think he could have torched anyone. Like, I would be even afraid of Mendy against Coman. He's just one of the few wingers who can do anything to anyone. Gnabry is just I can't believe he scored against Arsenal, but he hasn't been good since the treble. Gnabry has pretty much been in and out of the lineup, inconsistent since the treble. Maybe the year after he was good. That's it. And so I think Bayern will set up very defensively with the back three, and they'll use the wing backs to, I guess Kimmic will play more conservatively tucked in. But I do think Kimmic crashed the box against Arsenal. I think the key is actually the wing backs will have to join the attack, and they'll numerically be super conservative about it. Like they'll have their double pivot. It'll be a bit Chelsea the way he approaches it. Very Chelsea, actually.
This is why it's different than Leipzig and City. It's a different kind of challenge in front of us because they're a different style of play. And I also think like part of the reason why I'm skeptical about this whole thing, like, oh, Bayern are not as good, like we'll beat them, and they look at Bayern's Bundesliga season as if like we didn't play Leipzig, who are not great in the Bundesliga, and we literally scraped by thanks to Andre Lunin in that two-legged tie. Like as if we didn't, just because they're not great domestically and not playing well. That's like we all saw what happened against Leipzig. It's not that straightforward necessarily, So I just don't want to overlook it. But yeah, I kind of see the challenge here is that Ancelotti is going to have a tougher time kind of playing a lower block against Bayern for the reason that City or Bayern won't really care about controlling possession. And mind you, like they're still aggressive. Like I was looking at their numbers, and their passes per defensive action are they allow 10 per game, which is less aggressive than the 8 from last year, but it's still a very high number. Or I think it still puts them at second in the Bundesliga. The interesting thing is from a number standpoint, they've been a defensive sieve. They've conceded more goals than Leipzig, Dortmund, Leverkusen, and there was one more. I can't remember. Maybe it was I can't remember who the other one was. But their expected goals against are actually among the best in the big 5 leagues. So they're having some bad luck on that front. They're conceding goals I think normally they wouldn't. And I wonder how much that normalizes. And maybe just the way they defended against Arsenal proves that they're actually a better defensive team than the numbers show.
Well, Neuer is also just back now. And
yes. Yeah.
So that changes things for
That's
sure.
Huge. Yeah. But yeah, weird team, health problems. Not sure who's going to start in the back line. Not sure who's going to start on the wings. And I don't think their domestic form is reflective of how this tie will go. And that's why I'm very interested, intrigued, fascinated, a little bit worried, but also optimistic of how this is going to go. It's just a lot of everything going through my mind on this one.
Also, Leroy is at 8 goals from 11 expected goals. That's one reason in the Bundesliga. That's one reason I'm not as scared of him right now. Maybe he could regress. You could make that argument, but I would argue that's indicative of someone who's not finishing great. But yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's Tuchel. It's Bayern. We're way better than the last time. I'd say we're better positioned to prevent Tuchel from doing what he did to us in either of the 2 ties last time, where there would just be an hour where they destroyed us, like shell-shacked us. Like last time, it was the second leg, Bernabeu. We're down 3-0. We got to come back. Time before that, we just got kind of slapped away. I think we're positioned where there's no reason we should give up 2-3 goals in 50-minute span against Bayern at any point over 2 legs. Like, that's the main difference from when we last played Tuchel. Before, I just thought we were less like the Benzema Vinny year. I mean, we were not as foundationally sound in the first 2/3 as this year, in my opinion, in just terms of how we built up, how we defended. We have more athletic midfielders. And I mean, the year before that was just one of our, like a 60 injury season. We don't even need to talk about that. That was before we had Camavinga even. So I think Tchouaméni and Camavinga will let us prevent Tuchel from just slapping us in the face. From there, it's going to be close. And if Tuchel has his way, it'll be like the Arsenal second leg where Kimmic gets one out of nowhere. And home, and then away, he's going to want it a bit like the Arsenal home leg, where I think he got exactly what he wanted against Arsenal, where he kind of got goals away from home and rattled them out of nowhere, even though they dominated territory. And then at home, he just stole the win. Like that was, I mean, it wasn't even a steal though. Arsenal couldn't like dominate them. Like they tried, but they weren't able to do too much. And I think he wants the same thing. Close Munich leg, nick a goal, more open game at the Bernabeu, where if you need to go blow for blow, you can, because you never know what's coming. I think the reason we're underestimating them is actually because we have the Bernabeu the second leg. If we were away the second leg, I think we'd be terrified right now. We'd be talking about how we need a win at home, how we don't want to end up like Arsenal, who went away and lost. But now we know we can go draw and probably beat them at home. Like, that's very plausible. I think we can actually beat them in one of the legs is where I see it a little different to City, where I don't think they're going to like put us under the pressure cooker for 60 minutes in our box. Like they're not. We just know they're not.
No, I don't see that at all. Where I see them hurting us is in a different way. And is that if we open the game a little bit, and not an open game. Sorry, that's not what I mean. But like if we hold a high line and we're just not as good in transition defending, that's where I see them hurting us more. I also think, like, you and I talked about Kane earlier. Kane has that ability to get into the, a slower build-up, link up in the half space, and create something, get on the end of something. I could see that as well. But yeah, I don't see them hurting us in a sense that City, like where they pinned us and we have to defend heroically in that mode. They're a kind of different kind of beast. They like to grind it out over. I think they'll play the long game. They'll play the long game. And I think we'll have way more of the ball in this tie than we did against even Leipzig, but definitely more than we had it against City, no question.
What's going on with Davies? They're not happy with him there. Like I knew this even before we were signing him. Like
Yeah,
there had been rumors that he had kind of dropped off, and what's going on? I think it's just a mix of him leaving, the club being in a weird spot. He's
yeah.
had some injury years. He hasn't been as injured this year though, which is why it's weird. Like
So Mazraoui played left back today, and then Davies came in off the bench. And I, quite frankly, and this pains me to say because I'm a huge Davies believer and fan, Mazraoui might be a better option for them there, to be honest.
left wing back, right?
Yes.
Okay, crazy.
And well, the thing with Davies is that their fans are just kind of fed up with him, and he's putting up, duds and not playing well, and I think it's most in part due to the fact that mentally, I think he has like one foot out the door. The problem is that Bayern kind of have some leverage with this one in some sense, even though he's a free agent next year in 2025, in that he's not playing well, and he's going to be demanding a lot of money, in part because he knows Bayern can't match it, and it's his way of being like, okay, well, you can't afford me, so I'm going. His other problem is that Real Madrid are very high on Ferland Mendy, and they don't see Davies as that kind of priority right now. Like, I was talking to my sources close to the club, and it's like they have Mendy and Fran Garcia. Whatever you want to think about it, Real Madrid is the kind of club right now in this era, especially, where they have contracts, and if they can't move contracts, they're not going to bring someone new in. This is part of the reason why they haven't signed a right back. You're not moving Carvajal or Vasquez, and right now you're definitely not moving Mendy because he's pretty much, Ancelotti is in love with the guy for good reason, and Fran Garcia, is still there. They may also trigger Miguel,
So
which
weird, man.
they may not keep him, but if they trigger him, that's a contract that they might want to flip, right?
Football's so weird, man. We spent like 5 years wanting a new Marcelo, and like right when he turns up, Ferland Mendy becomes God, and like becomes like is now at this, and it's weird because contextually the whole environment shifted to the point where it makes sense for us to keep Mendy in that like remember last year fullbacks were the problem. In the league a few years ago, felt like the fullbacks weren't the same as in the Marcelo years, and then like I can't believe this because the first Clasico of the season, Camavinga came off for Mendy and absolutely dominated. And we're like, man, we don't want Mendy at left back. We want like a more offensive. And I still can't fathom that happened because that was end of October. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's been like 5-6 months. And in that time, Mendy is now probably universally recognized as the only guy who can definitely shut down almost anyone you want in any matchup. Like you want Lamine Yamal, Bernardo Silva, went up against Leroy Sane. It doesn't matter who. And it seems like he's one of the few left backs who actually like makes a difference. Like there are good defenders who will do their job. Then there are plus defenders who will actually like make it harder for the other team to do their job. And he does that really well. Stats are crazy. Like lowest dribbled past when I compared him to Marcelo, Trent, Dani Alves, Carvalho, all these different guys. Lowest dribbled past. Lowest attempts to dribble past him. I can't believe it. And it's funny because he's also like, there are a couple of things that have worked out for him. We were concerned about his injuries, and he came out and said that he had to learn his body, and that's why he sat this last game. Because before he didn't know his body. He would have played this last game. He would have got hurt. He said he took him some time to understand his body and when he needs to sit, and which is why he chose to sit against Sociedad, and he is back for Bayern. He knows what he's doing. And then the other thing is his actual efficiency. Like, he's not one of the best ball progressors in Europe, but statistically, per yardage, he actually is, just purely from yardage gained per turnover, because he doesn't lose the ball. He hardly loses the ball. Like, he plays it really safe. Like, there was a metric where Cruz was number one. Mark Stats did it, like progression per turnover. Cruz was like 92. Rodri was second at like 72. Mendy was in the 60s. Like, he was fifth in Europe, higher than our midfielders. So just considering all that, yeah, that's interesting that you say that. I feel bad for Davies, though, just in the sense that, like, it's a mess of a club. You are a good fit here. Ferland's not going to be in this golden Goldilocks zone forever. There's going to be days when we're calling for his head again. I love the guy, but there's just two types of football. There's deep block football. There's big game football. Two different types of football. And we're always going to need someone like Davies for that.
Well, that's my ideal pairing is Davies and Mendy, and I'm hoping that Davies just needs a change of scenery because Davies at his peak is an incredible. He would be our best left back probably from an overall package standpoint if you get the peak version of Davies from like 3 years ago. But the Mendy thing is that in the 2024 calendar year, he has been the best he's been since 2022. He hasn't been this good in 2 years. This season, you mentioned that Clasico, like, and the other thing about him, and you mentioned like it would suck to miss out on Davies because there's gonna be days where we tear our hairs out for Mendy's performances. It's not even just that; it's that we have no guarantee Mendy will stay healthy. We don't. So we can swoon over and fawn over these Mendy performances of late, and they're fantastic. He's basically the Makaleli of left backs defensively. And you mentioned this, like he's press resistant. He's a very press resistant player. That's incredibly helpful. And
as long as it's not against a great press, yes.
Well, even then, he just does a roulette, and then he like a sombrero, a rainbow flick. He does some Zinedine Zidane type shit out of his ass. I don't know.
He does. But like, I mean, Man City second leg, like he didn't Marcelo his way out of our box. Like he didn't do that for us. But I know
no one was doing anything out of that press. I mean, those were like 11 robots just counter pressing us relentlessly.
I feel like that would have been a big Davies or Marcelo game for getting us out of the press if they had a chance. Like that's a game where take a generational fullback. But back to what you were saying, just a quick point. It's weird because Davies' actual dribbling numbers are really high. Like when I went through, they're higher than Marcelo's. I haven't seen this in the database before. Marcelo's higher than every fullback. And then magically, Davies is higher on Who Scored, Football Ref, both. And I wonder,
this is at his peak or not right now?
Just in general. And it's weird because like when I went through, I did the whole statistical comparison. I think you might have read it. I did it put it on the website. The main thing that stood out was Marcelo created more in the final third. Marcelo received he received way more progressive receptions. Like Marcelo would camp sometimes high and wide. He was a better creative passer. But it seems like the whole like up and down energy bunny fullback thing, it seems Davies does that a little more. Like he has the fast first touch and the dribbling to beat his man. Seems like he like if Marcelo dominated progression 50 yards to the final third, Davies dominates progression from 20 yards, kind of your own half, to the 70, 80 yard mark. Like I would say he dominates the middle part of the pitch more. Marcelo dominates the final third. Davies like receives the ball deeper. He dribbles deeper. Marcelo is very much like a Neymar, Ozil, like Isco style, like a left back who's very much a 10/winger, born at left back. I would say Neymar, like a 10 winger hybrid who plays left back. Davies is very much more in the mold of like a speedy winger, Coman, Adama Traore, Vinny before he evolved his game a little more centrally when he was like more of just beat your man out wide. That's the kind of guy he is. Just some thoughts. But yeah, his dribbling numbers are crazy. Like, let's see. Yeah, you see Marcelo. Yeah, look at that. Look, that's what I'm saying. And I went through.
So this one is this is Davies' take-ons, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're on YouTube, and if you're not on YouTube, if you just Google Alphonso Davies left back Galactico Managing Madrid, you'll see the link. Sid and Mehedi put together this incredible visual analysis comparing Davies to Marcelo.
We also did a Marcelo one. If you want to look at that, that might be, if you want to get a better idea of how he compares to Marcelo, look up the Marcelo one. It's called Greatest Left Backs Marcelo or something. That one, I put all of Marcelo's dribbling from Who Scored, because this is Football Reference where they only have 2017-18 on for Marcelo. I did Who Scored, and you can see Marcelo is a better dribbler than this makes him seem compared to Davies. Like the stats don't show you that, like Mendy has such a ridiculous number of completed dribbles, because that's when you realize like dribbles are not the same. Like John Stones' 6 dribbles against Inter are not the same as Lionel Messi's in a final. They don't attempt them in the same zones. They're not as hard. And I really realized that looking at how Davies and even Mendy have such inflated figures compared to Marcelo in some things. And I'm like, okay, it's because how they're used.
Yeah.
But regardless, no other fullback actually takes on more than Marcelo. Like no other fullback actually does that though, statistically even, which is what pops out about him and why I want him.
Well, these are crazy. These numbers are crazy though. So Davies, and you can. It's funny because when you look at it this way, you can kind of see him dropping off in the last couple years. That's why I said like peak Davies. Look at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it would have been 2020, 2021 season, 3.49 take-ons per game, 69.2% success rate. And he's hovering around that number for 3 years, basically. It's pretty staggering numbers.
Yeah, and then drops off 10% take-ons, one less take-on per game the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is interesting though that Davies is being squeezed right now like this on both ends. I didn't know that we were not as interested. I mean, I figured if they're asking for 50 million, we wouldn't want him. Like, I just think we're looking at him like, you're ours. Any money we give to Bayern is a waste of our money. Like, we'd rather give it to you or just negotiate it down.
Well, this is why I think the most realistic scenario is we get him if we're going to get him, it's going to be as a free agent in 2025. I don't think we're in a desperate situation to pay for him this summer, is what I'm saying.
I wonder if Bayern are ready to get insulted for the third time. And like, I guess the second time we took Alaba as a free agent. We insulted them with the Cruz money. Like, that was an insult. Like, we're looking back, 20 million for Cruz is ridiculous. But this
is why it's like it seems like a good signing, because it's like no matter who we get from them, it's just a home run.
Well, we only pick their like generational talents. Like, we're not going after their like Goretzkas. We're going after their Alabas.
Yeah,
Goretzka's not bad. I don't mean to trash him. He's just not Alaba. Like, the multi-positional high IQ geniuses who could start for any team in the world. That's Davies, Alaba, Cruz. I just wonder what you do as Bayern. Do you pull the Dortmund where you are like, Lewandowski stays and he leaves on a free because we don't want to give him to you right now? Or do you just be like logical and like, okay, Real Madrid are our daddies in the market. We might as well accept it today and try to prevent it next time and give him up for a price that we're willing to pay. I feel like it's Bayern. You have to consider that, just because, like, you might as well go all in and rotate your, like, Kimmic wants to leave too. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're scared. They don't want to lose too many players. Because I know Kimmic is looking around. He's got his eyes around Europe. What else have you heard about Davies? Any other insiders?
No, that's it. But if I'm Real Madrid, I'm okay with sitting it out this summer and waiting next year, because you're not in a desperate situation right now, and you just get to see him one more year before you decide, okay, yeah, let's get this guy for free. Like, what if next year he's just terrible? Or he just bounces back? Either way, it's confirmation.
What if he's the same though, like just stagnant? Not like the same as this year, just kind of bad, but not so bad where you think he's lost it, but just not that good either.
Yeah, I don't know. I would trust Juni Calafat. Whatever he decides, I'm in.
I think I run with Davies. Like, I think the club also know. I think it just comes down to, like, if Bayern want to get in the way with the large fee, there's no way we're doing it. There's
no definitely not. And Bayern, it's not like they have that much leverage right now either. Like, but the thing is, it also would give you another year to figure out what you're gonna do. Because Ferland Mendy, I think his contract runs out in 2025,
and it hasn't renewed either. Yeah,
hasn't renewed, and it gives you another year to figure out what's going on with Miguel, what's going on with Fran Garcia. So I feel like just logistically speaking, one more year makes sense to just wait it out.
Yeah, and I mean, we do need Leny Yoro. I do want him. Like, I would argue he's eclipsed Davies in terms of like everyone's a different position, but Leny Yoro's eclipsed Davies a little bit for me in terms of priority, guarantee of minutes, guarantee of impact, guarantee of being, like, they're both generational, but just my feeling that Leny Yoro is a slightly higher priority for me at this point. Just somebody else could get him. I'm not as scared of someone else snapping up Davies. I feel like nobody else will hunt him the way we will. Maybe like a United, if he ends up being bad, maybe someone gets him. But like, if he's good, I feel like he comes to us or stays at Bayern. Yoro, I don't want to see Yoro going to like a City or a Bayern, or, I mean, Bayern aren't going to sign another center back unless it's Ronald or Raul, but Arsenal, I wouldn't want to see Leny Yoro going anywhere there. Someone asked in the chat about Archie Gray. I don't see any about us being linked with Archie Gray, the right back.
Haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. He is a wonder kid. He is being linked to like Tottenham and Man United from what I'm seeing, which are just not our tier of club, but he is supposed to be good. I don't know if we're actually linked to him though. I haven't seen any such links, and I feel like I'd heard of him a little more if he was really coming, but maybe not.
How much do you think these two legs versus Bayern and how Alphonso Davies does in these two games would sway us either way about him?
Well, that's the problem, right?
Like
He
if Rodrigo just cooks him, would we
might
be
not.
like, all right, we're good?
We might not find out. That's the problem right now. That Mazraoui, because
You don't think if he doesn't play? Yeah.
Davies got suspended after the 2-2 at the Emirates. He got suspended with a yellow card. He played the 2-2. He was okay. I don't remember how he was. I was too focused on our game. I had it side by side, but he might have been cooked a couple times. Might have cooked Saka a couple times. I don't even know. But yellow card, suspended, and then Mazraoui was amazing in this. I didn't watch the second leg as much, but I had it on, and from as far as I could tell, Mazraoui was pitch perfect. Like just good decision making, not unnecessarily carrying the ball, just keeping things simple. It feels like is what he's doing, whereas Davies maybe complicates it more. Maybe his whole game is just about dribbling, and when it doesn't come off, it's bad. Mazraoui's simple, doesn't need to take risks. But there's a chance Mazraoui starts on against us. Like if based on what you're saying, that's now 3 games. I don't know if Davies was better than Mazraoui in the first leg at the Emirates. I know Mazraoui was amazing at the Allianz Arena. So if that's how Tuchel is going to look at it, we may not even start him. We may not even.
He's definitely going to feature at some point, one way or the other, though. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Did you have any more Bayern thoughts?
Bayern specifically, no more thoughts. No, I think we covered them. They're going to be defensive. It'll be tough. Someone just asked what you think about Trent. I just want to say I'm a huge fan of Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah,
he's welcome to the Bernabeu. I think defensively he might have problems, but I think Liverpool played a certain way for 5 years, and I think eventually teams realize like you have to defend certain spaces against Trent. You have to attack him in certain ways. That's your best shot. I think he comes here, it's a little different. Maybe he still gets attacked a bit like a Marcelo because teams know he's going to attack. But then he gives back more than Marcelo too, in my opinion. And I really think a tie like City, when we're stuck in our box, like again, I really think fullbacks, like they can be great defensively, but they can also win you these big games offensively if they do a great job. And, we haven't had too many fullbacks do that. Like ever since the whole Zinchenko Cancelo got moved away from City moved to 4 center backs. We're not seeing these big fullback protagonists, but Trent is one of them where he could just imagine like we defend with like everyone but Vinny. And then we create for Vinny from our half because Trent is like that. Like that's the sort of stuff he opens up. Like you're not going to create an XG from your half. You can create 2-3 big chances in a big game. Like maybe 2 of them don't work out. 1 of them is smooth. But Trent creates from his own half. He can create from the halfway line. It's like Beckham. It's the Beckham region. It's very much the Beckham region for me, but from right back.
Trent is overwhelmingly a net positive. Even like with his defensive lapses, he brings so much to the table on offense that it's overwhelmingly positive. The cost benefit analysis with him. The guy creates at an elite level. He's one of the best creators in the world. Like not just for a wing back. Like he creates like as if he's like a prolific winger who just breaks lines. His long range passing is unbelievable. The creative element and his overloads, everything, he just poses so much danger.
And his shooting too is so good.
Shooting is great. I mean, the thing like you mentioned Liverpool system. I think teams can exploit the space behind them there. It might be different here. I don't even know if I don't know what the question in the chat was about him at Real Madrid or just him in general, like in a vacuum, but at Real Madrid, you have the Fede insurance on the right side, and you probably don't play as suicidal. Anyway, so for the future, like I wouldn't turn it down. No, I'd love to have him as like the heir to Carvajal. I think it would be an amazing signing. But I don't know if this is a realistic conversation anyway. I don't think it is. I think he's a Liverpool.
Trent or Davies, if you had to pick.
Trent.
I pick Trent too. Especially after reading this last comment, which I had the suspicion I just hadn't remembered, didn't watch the game, but dude said Saka cooked Davies one-on-one until Gnabry doubled him. And I mean, that's why he might. I had a feeling, but I honestly don't think Davies starts. That's my hot take. Not even my hot take. That's my prediction right now. Davies does not start both legs. Very high chance Davies does not start in Munich.
Just to think about it too, though, part of the reason why Mendy makes more sense with this team in particular, with Mbappe coming, is that it's not like the left side is going to be starving for offensive production. You have Mbappe overloading the left side with Vinny, like it's game over offensively. You kind of need someone to balance it out in that sense, and Mendy makes sense. One super chat, and then one concluding thought, and then whatever else you want to hit us with. But Ramkey says make churros available for YouTube members. I'd love to. We have to figure that out. I don't know how we can figure that out right now. Right now, churros Patreon is only on churros Patreon. It's not from YouTube members, in part because it has different ownership. Diego and I own that together, so it's hard to kind of figure out the accounting to put it on YouTube members for Managing Madrid. So just if you want access to the latest churros, go to patreon.com/churros y tácticas. Just this is a random sporadic thought. Moving on, Sid. I was thinking about Arda Guler, and like I said, I wasn't really watching the Real Sociedad game that closely yesterday. But I thought, like, with the Guler goal, like, how impactful is this guy in a limited amount of minutes? 103 minutes he's played this season, 2 goals, 7 shot creating actions. It's just like some of the most productive limited minutes I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, he's that enchanted left footer. Like, I mean, he's not as good, but some elements of Messi sometimes, some elements of Ozil, some of David Silva. It's just that magical left footer who knows what he's doing. I don't know. It's like left-footed De Bruyne. I don't know how to put it. That's where the Ozil David Silva with a little hint of the Messi composure is what I like the Messi ball striking. But even Ozil had that. I guess that if there was a component of his game he had, it was the ball striking. So especially the playmaking. But Guler seems to have the shooting too. If I'm not wrong, it feels like he can shoot a little better than Ozil so far. But maybe I'm just biased by the halfway line shot that I can't forget about.
Well, that was unbelievable. No, he had some other good shots too in that Copa game, if you remember. And the other thing is, like, even some of these things, the stats that didn't show up in what I just read, he's nearly scored in like 2 other games and like coming on in the 87th minute. It's pretty impressive. And the defense looks great. The hard work against Real Sociedad was really important for me to see. Like, you need players who just work hard like that off the ball. And that was very encouraging. And Carlo spoke about that too after the game.
I think he's wanted a little more muscle too. Like, he's a little stronger, less brittle.
He looks like he can hold his own physically, which was a concern about him, right?
Yeah. He looked skinny for sure.
Yeah. Any concluding thoughts before we put a bow on this podcast?
No. I mean, we gotta go watch the Lakers after this. That sucks.
Is that tonight?
Yeah, it's in 45 minutes, so I'm gonna try and enjoy that.
Would you rather see a sweep, or would you rather like let them get one consolation win?
I want to live in this reality where we're coming back from 3-0 for as long as possible.
Never happened. But hey, it's fun. It's fun, like, if it's at least something.
So last year, LeBron had like 35 at half, or 30 at half, or almost 40 at half, and I was living in that delusional reality. And then, but I knew when he had whatever at half, I'm like, all right, he's tired, and then the inevitable happened. But yeah, I want to live in a delusional world for a little longer. Why not? I mean, it's LeBron's last year. I might as well enjoy it. Like, we come 3-1. I'm gonna make fun of Lucas. Be like, we're coming back 3-2. Lucas is. I mean, hey, Gabe Vincent said it best. He plays for us. Last year, he was up 3-0, and he played a game 7 for Miami.
Lakers are up by 4 right now. I'm gonna say go up.
Oh, it started already. Okay.
Yeah, second quarter. I'm gonna say they're up. They're gonna be up. It's like, oh shit, I gotta go. I didn't know that.
We're coming back.
I regret doing this podcast. I'm gonna say the Lakers go up by 15 or 20, and then Denver's like, oh shit, all right, let's just end it here. We want a little bit of a break before the second round starts. Let's just win this game and stop fooling around.
Well, regardless if I'm suffering tonight, I'd rather suffer now than have to wait 45 minutes after this only for the game to start and then see the whole thing play out. So I'm glad we're already mid-second quarter because, to be honest, I don't care about the first half anymore.
It's true. It's true. You want to see you want to see the clutch and then see how the Lakers deal with it there.
Yeah, and it's late. I was gonna have the game on anyways, so it is what it is. We'll see how it goes. But go Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Go Luka Doncic.
Is that who you're gonna root for if when the Lakers bounce?
I don't know who I root for because I think rooting for Jokic does help LeBron's legacy in many ways. It's like, okay, he only got us by the next next grade. I also just respect him and like him. It's very rare that your favorite player gets beaten by a rival and you immediately start liking and respecting that rival. But I've been liking Jokic since 2020, ever since he took Kawhi out for us. Ever since people, called that a fake bubble. Look at how those teams have done in the conference. Like all those teams have had pretty good bounce back years after that first year, the injuries after the bubble hurt them. So yeah, just looking forward to Jokic. And I don't want to see the Celtics win, man. Screw them. Somebody stop them. Dame got hurt. We're screwed. It's looking bad.
I honestly think if anyone's going to stop Denver, it's someone from the West. I don't think it's Boston.
I don't think so either. I'm just worried because now it sucks that it fell this way for Boston. Like literally the Knicks and Philly had to end up in a dogfight. Dame and Giannis had to end up injured and they had to play Tyrese Halliburton. Like almost any other scenario would have been better. If the Cavs were playing the Philly, Knicks were playing Magic, I would much rather have that. But now you have the scenario where they only play a hard team in the East once, which is just sad because I do think the rest factor will play a role beyond just IQ in the finals. And I think like how many total games you play before the finals does play a role, which is why I think the Celtics lost last year. They dropped 2. They didn't have to Atlanta. They dropped 3. They didn't have to Philly. Then they lost just like that to the 8 seed Heat. So yeah. I want to see him drop games. I was at one point we were set Kiyan for, sorry for stretching this, but I hate them. So I have to finish this part about how I hate them. But there was a point when we were headed for a dream, Kiyan. Philly first round, New York second round, Milwaukee conference finals. They were going to get beat up. This Pep Guardiola marketing crap wasn't going to work. They were going to get knocked out in the playoffs like Pep in the Champions League. We were going to make fun of them. But now it is a cakewalk in that joke of a conference, unfortunately. And yeah.
But the thing is, like, there's just something about the Celtics that I don't trust when the chips are down. I don't know. They can go through and kill everyone in the regular season. I just don't think they have what it takes to beat Denver. I mean, almost probably no one has what it takes to beat Denver, but I feel I would trust the Wolves.
They'll push them to 5 or 6.
Wolves or Mavs, I think have a better chance than the Celtics, to be quite honest with you.
Wolves will push them 5 or 6. I can't believe they swept the Suns, but yeah, they'll push them 5 or 6. And then Mavericks can push them too. And I just wonder how Mavericks do against OKC. Because I think
OKC looks great. And I think maybe we're sleeping on OKC, actually.
We would have beat them in 5 if we were playing them. Instead, we had to run.
No, man, you can't beat Canadian. Shea would just... You can't beat the Canadians. We're unstoppable. We're the greatest.
We're 3-1 against OKC this season.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like we're 3-0 against the Clippers, or 3-1, and then 3-1 against OKC. I just hold on to those. The in-season tournament, that brief moment when it was close, I just hold on to those.
I mean, it'd be interesting, like any other seed for the Lakers, they might be in round 2.
Yes, and I just think OKC, I just think we beat them up, man. Like we're too big for them, and we just beat them up. Like they're good. They like the games. It's a bit like this Denver series where I feel like every game is close, but we find a way against OKC. They're just young, but yeah, man, we'll see how it goes. Too bad you guys aren't good. I wish you guys could be good and slow down the Celtics for a change.
Yeah, we'll be good in like 5 years. I'm calling it now.
How many more years of Masai pulling this trick on him?
I don't know, man. People are starting to get fed up with the Masai PR because he is widely known as one of the best GMs. He lost Fred for nothing. I mean, to be fair, no one's going to be paying that kind of money to Fred apart from the Rockets. Siakam, we got very little in return. We waited too long to tank. OG trade was actually good. We got Quickly and Baird in return. That was fine.
OG trade, honestly, is the only reason his head isn't on the stake, because those two pieces are very good for what you guys need, which is shooting. You guys needed offense with your team that couldn't shoot around Scotty. But yeah, I mean, Masai's PR game is unbelievable, man. He got everyone convinced he's the GOAT.
He was for a while, man. We traded Andrea Bargnani for I don't like when nobody wanted him. Like we just tricked everybody. Like he's got some good ones. Let's not like just be fair, but yeah, the last couple years haven't been great. What do you think? How good do you think, if everyone is healthy, is that team of like Fred VanVleet, OG, Siakam, uh,
Lowry?
well, not even Lowry, he's old now, but who else did we give away?
Well, oh well, there's no. I mean, you lost Mark and Ibaka eventually. You didn't give them away. You lost them. I guess they're old now too. But
Yeah,
I mean, there's no 1A on that team. Like Siakam's very good, like
yeah.
2 option on a team. And I'd argue like you need like 2 Siakam types. So if Fred is one, where's the number 1 option? There is no number 1 option there. That
No.
team ceiling is not going anywhere.
Well,
Yeah,
Scotty Barnes obviously is the other. Like,
yeah, the timelines weren't going to match, and Scotty might be a 1. I don't know if he's a 1 next to OG and Siakam, like those type of, like I think he needs more shooting. Fred, I think, would have fit Scotty really well. Ultimately, I think the way that team was going, I mean, they probably had better packages available for Siakam and Fred, and maybe even Lowry for the better part of like those 4 years after the ring. And yeah, I mean, again, if you didn't get those pieces back for OG, you're probably pissed off right now. Like, imagine if you got one of them back for OG instead of 2. How would you feel?
one of
Barrett or Quickly?
no, I would no. Both of those guys were key in making that trade digestible.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's where I think he should have traded earlier. But I'm not an expert. It's just really funny because it's been a joke around the league for a while that Masai is just tricking his fans in Toronto. And like,
Well, we would have gotten more if we had done these deals sooner, right? Like a year ago.
yeah. I forgot you guys did push Boston to 7 the first time.
No, it wasn't 7. I think it was 6. The COVID year, you mean?
Bubble, was it not 7?
I think it was 6.
Interesting.
Was it 7?
Let me
No
look it
way.
up.
I don't. I think
think it
I
was.
would have remembered if it was 7.
Let me look it up.
We were
20
down 2-0, and then it was about to be
It was
3-0,
7.
and it was 7.
It was about to be 3-0. You hit the 3, then you take the next game. They take game 5. You take game 6 by 3 points, and then you lose game 7 by 5.
Wow, crazy. I just remember it was supposed to be 3-0, and then Fred hit that ridiculous buzzer beater. I was like, oh my God. And then everyone was like, Celtics are going to choke. I mean, that was a brutal year because we were playing in Tampa. We weren't even in Toronto, remember? And it was totally messing with us. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting super tired, but your screen looks redder and redder to me every second. I feel like my eyes are bleeding now. Like it's, but it's not, right? It's just the same redness as before.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
just getting tired.
It's not dark outside, so a little less blue coming in through, but it's been dark most of the call. But yeah, man, I guess let's wrap it up here.
Yeah, we've lost looking at the live because YouTube always the number of viewers increases. It just pushes the video more and more people. In the last like 2 minutes, ever since we started talking about the Raptors playing in Tampa in the pandemic, we dropped like 50 viewers live.
That's
so
funny.
I think it's a good sign.
Yeah. Go everyone, root for the Lakers. Visualize the Lakers winning, coming back from 3-0. Otherwise, I won't appear on the pod ever again. And yeah.
But we'll actually see you Tuesday post-game show.
Yes.
Munich, first leg.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in live. Thank you so much for listening after the fact if you did that. If you joined the live late, this will be posted, this whole thing, pretty much immediately. Sid, thanks, man. Kind of just hopping on short notice. Just wanted to throw it at you. Let's just sit down and talk. Like there was no real agenda. I think we did well. Over an hour just talking about Bayern, Davies, and whatever else we hit on. And Sid, you said you got a Bayern preview coming?
I should, unless something might, we'll see, not 100% confirmed, but I should have a Bayern preview coming tomorrow.
Podcast or article?
Podcast.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for hopping in. If you want bonus content, we had 2 bonus episodes and we have many bonus episodes all the time. Patreon.com/Managing Madrid. If you're on YouTube, just hit join under the YouTube video or hit the memberships tab. We'll see you on the inside. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Sid. Peace out.